What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chats channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Now I'm back with my original segment, Boxing Ego First Look. A tell of the tape, a sneak peek, a preview of the fight before the fight. Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Povetkin. Alexander Povetkin is the mandatory challenger for Anthony Joshua. Joshua is a champion, a unified champion, who holds the WBA Super, the IBF, the WBO, and the IBO belts. And they're getting ready to fight Saturday, September 22nd at Wembley in London, UK. This is an interesting fight for a couple reasons. Now, I know a lot of you guys are thinking, what about Deontay Wilder? It seems like Joshua's name, just like Mayweather and Pacquiao, just like Canelo and Golovkin, just like Keith Thurman and Errol Spence, the names have become synonymous because for years, for quite some time, people have wanted to see Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder. Now, they were in negotiations, Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. It didn't work out. I don't think Team Joshua wanted to make that leap in that step to unify, to become undisputed. The evidence really shows. You have Barry Hearn, who did an interview whilst fishing, and he says he's okay if they never ever fight or they don't fight for the next 10 years. And Joshua continues to make money. He also says that he sees the fight realistically. He wanted it to happen in 2 years, but he thinks maybe they can hold it off and put it off till 2019. It's really disappointed a lot of people and left us with Joshua Povetkin. A lot of people wanted to see, again, one name, one face, one champion at heavyweight division. It's been a long time coming since that. An undisputed champ since the days like Lennox Lewis. And after Lennox Lewis retired, it was really the Klitschkos, Vitaly and Wladimir, that reigned supreme on the whole heavyweight division. That's why we're so close to seeing an undisputed champion. Why wait? There's some interesting faces, up and comers, the Daniel Dubois, the Tony Yokas, and different people. Then you have guys like Luis King Kong Ortiz, who is one of the boogeyman and definitely a great fighter in the division. Dillian White lost to Joshua, but he since climbed back up that ladder. Gerald Big Baby Miller. And then you have champions and former champions in Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, and also Anthony Joshua, right? And then guys like Alexander Povetkin, who faced Klitschko. Wladimir Klitschko came up short, but he has challenged for a title. So, we're real close to getting Wilder Joshua if Joshua's side took $50 million that was offered from Deontay Wilder. It didn't happen, and this is the fight. I know, in my honest opinion, I don't think the buzz has been great for Joshua Povetkin, but I'm still doing the tell of the tape for you guys. It's interesting because of these reasons. The timing is really what's interesting. They're both gold medalists. Alexander Povetkin won a gold medal, I think, in 2004, and then Anthony Joshua also got a gold medal. Wembley holds a lot of people. According to Eddie Hearn, they're 80,000 or near 80,000 sold, but it's not going to sell out. Interesting fight. Both men have fought Klitschko, Wladimir Klitschko, so they have a mutual opponent there, and the outcomes were different. Joshua, he was in the fight of his life, probably his toughest fight. He knocked Klitschko down. Klitschko rallied back pretty good in that round, and then the next round, I believe, came back to knock Joshua down. Joshua looked kind of depleted, took a couple rounds for him to get back in the fight. He did do that, and once he recharged his batteries, he was able to land a vicious uppercut that set up some things and stopped Klitschko in the 11th round. Meanwhile, for Alexander Povetkin, he's much smaller than Klitschko. He was getting leaned on and wore down as the fight progressed, and he got knocked down 2 times or so, and he lost the decision to Klitschko. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. Again, the timing is what is really interesting. David Price was the last person that Povetkin fought. He got hurt in that fight. He didn't go down, but he ended up stopping David Price with a vicious knockout. So it's going to be interesting seeing Joshua in with a shorter person, a guy who has experience, Klitschko's 38 years old, so he has experience. He's also a gold medalist. He's also fought for a title, and he's captured names, even though he wasn't in prime, but he's beaten a guy like Hasim Rahman, who, you know, at one point in time beat Lennox Lewis by knockout, stuff like that. So Povetkin definitely has experience, and I want to see the biggest thing for Joshua. I want to see how he embraces and deals with all the pressures that he's receiving by not fighting Deontay Wilder. How is he mentally put together? Does he have that mental dexterity? Because I've seen him in some interviews and he says he can't be concerned with what people are saying, and it doesn't matter the gripes and the people complaining. And he said something to the effect of, I can't listen to the negativity, and if I did that earlier in my career when I wasn't even as good, if I listened to the negative comments from people, then I wouldn't have gotten this far. But saying something versus actually deep down inside feeling that is not always one and the same. So I want to see if Anthony Joshua is really as confident as he's saying, dealing with all this public backlash. Because you have to understand, Joshua, he's you know, pretty wholesome. He has sponsorships and endorsements, and, you know, he's moved along. He made a lot of money. He says he wants to be a billionaire in the sport. He's never really had the public perception turn against him as they have recently in the Wilder fight, you know, because everyone's seen how it played out. He talked trash, Wilder talked trash. We thought we were getting the fight for September. At one point, his promoter, Eddie Hearn, says September at Wembley is not an option, yet the Povetkin fight is happening September at Wembley. So, you know, people seen how the fight played out, and Wilder, his profile has actually grown as a result of this, because there's a lot of people, not just Americans, but a lot of people around the world who believe that Wilder was pushing for this fight. You know, the hefty $50 million offer that was turned down by Team Joshua. They asked for $50 million, got the $50 million, you know, at least an offer, and they wouldn't commit to it. They said, let's set up a meeting. They said, there's nothing to talk about unless you want to actually commit that you're okay with the basic terms. Otherwise, we don't really have nothing to talk about. They didn't do that, so, you know, different things happened. The fight fell apart. But $50 million, this is what Joshua asked for. Then he later would come out and say that he's willing to take far less money, you know, upwards of losing 20 to 30 million and back in proceedings or guaranteed money to fight at home in the UK, because he owes it to the fans, which I don't believe. You know, I don't think any fighter should not do what's right for them, their families, and their livelihood just to please the fans. Of course you want to please the fans, but I think it's more pleasing to the fans to give them the best of the best possible fight, no matter where it's at, you know, because the same could be said. Wilder has fans too. Even if he's the B-side, he still has fans. So some American fans might not be able to travel to the UK to see it. But at the end of the day, I think American fans would be okay just because they're getting the best versus the best. They're seeing the two best guys, the only two guys remaining in the division with any belts, fight each other. So that's just my statement on it. Here's what Joshua said about Povetkin. He says, I can't wait to get back in the ring. The end of March feels like a long time ago now. Povetkin is a serious challenge that I will prepare meticulously for. He has serious pedigree, and only a fool would underestimate what he brings to the table. Which is funny that Joshua would say this, because there's a ESPN interview where Joshua says he's looking past Povetkin. So these inconsistencies with what Joshua is saying leads me to believe that maybe it's not 100% how he feels, because I don't understand why you have an interview saying you're underestimating or you're overlooking of a person, but then now you're saying that he has serious pedigree and only a fool would underestimate him. I mean, you can't say two polar opposites in a small period of time and mean both. Joshua continued by saying, it's not the height of the man, it's the fight of the man. He's fought people like me all his life. He's used to fighting tall guys. He knows how to slip and throw punches, so I've got to make sure I give him no gaps or openings. It's not the height that's the issue. It's how willing and determined he is. As far as Alexander Povetkin, this is what he had to say. He said, the battle for the world title has always been my goal. I fought for the moment to face the strongest in the world, and on September 22nd, I get my opportunity. Anthony Joshua has 4 belts, and I want them all. I'm glad that our fight will finally take place. The meeting of 2 Olympic champions in the ring is destined to be a breathtaking event, right? Eddie Hearn says, "I can't wait to return to Wembley for what I believe will be one of the biggest tests of AJ's career. Last time he was there, he produced one of the most dramatic fights and innings in history of the sport, and I expect this fight to be full of energy and drama." So we'll see how it plays out. Povetkin did fail 2 drug tests a couple years ago. He was actually supposed to fight the WBC champion that everyone wants to see, Joshua, fight in Deontay Wilder. But in the build-up for the fight was already signed. They had a date. It already went to purse bid, and World of Boxing, Rybinski, the promoter of Alexander Povetkin, bid a large sum of money, where Wilder was, as champion, slated to get a lot of money, large chunk of change, to fight against his mandatory at the time, which was Povetkin. And the fight fell apart, and Wilder ended up fighting Chris Arreola, not because of Wilder, but because Povetkin failed a drug test. He had a drug called meldonium in his system, and he would later fail a second drug test with a completely separate drug, ostarine, that year, and that canceled another Povetkin fight that particular year with Bermain Stavern. So, he has those 2 negative tests on his resume. They are doing VADA testing for this particular fight. I haven't heard of any failed tests, so that's a good sign. Now let's take a look at the tail of the tape. Champion Anthony Joshua has a perfect record. He is unbeaten at 21-0. Alexander Povetkin has a near perfect record of 34-1, 38 years old, more experience. That one loss again is to Wladimir Dr. Steelhammer Klitschko, a guy that Joshua himself has fought and beat. Age, 10-year youth advantage goes to Anthony Joshua. He's the younger fighter here, 28 years old. Povetkin is listed at 38 years old. Major component here, height. The height goes to the bigger fighter, the taller fighter, Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua is 6'6" to Alexander Povetkin's 6'2". So it's going to be interesting to see how Joshua deals with the smaller man when he's used to fighting guys probably a little bit taller, 6'3", 6'4", and how Povetkin deals with this. But as Joshua mentioned, he's fought guys his size before. He fought Klitschko, who's also listed at 6'6". Fights taking place in the heavyweight division for Joshua's belts. So, Joshua, he looks like he's slimming down. He'll probably weigh somewhere in the 240s. And Povetkin right around the same, 230s, 240s. Reach advantage also goes to Anthony Joshua, who is the bigger and taller man. Joshua has a reach of 82 inches to Alexander Povetkin's 75-inch reach. Interesting fight, really based on the timing. Povetkin, you can't sleep. He can play spoiler here, especially if Joshua is too busy thinking about negativity, or he was in his training camp, anything like that. I know Povetkin is sparring. He sparred with a youthful, in prime, hungry guy coming up called Daniel Dubois. In case you haven't heard of Daniel Dubois, he's fighting Kevin Johnson, who's a former opponent of Anthony Joshua. So it looks like Povetkin's taking the training camp serious, and he knows it's really his last hurrah at a title shot. You had an opportunity to fight Klitschko, came up short there, had the opportunity to fight against Deontay Wilder, failed a drug test. Now you're getting a title shot again for all the belts. So really, Povetkin, at age 38 in the heavyweight division, if he were to get knocked out, it's kind of, I'm not saying he has to retire, but as far as like getting a title shot, it's going to be hard to get that, It's going to be hard to get that at this point. So I think Povetkin is going to come to fight and put it all on the line, win, lose, or draw. And really mentally, I want to see how tough Joshua is, because he's dealing with a lot of backlash, really, from the Wilder fight saga and the fall apart of that particular fight. So it's going to be interesting to see how it's done. Some people handle the spotlight better than others. We will see how Anthony Joshua holds it, because again, for the first time, he's a champion, but people are looking at him as a massive underdog. Even when he fought Klitschko, I don't remember a bunch of negativity, because Klitschko was coming off a loss to Tyson Fury. So I think AJ was probably the favorite based on his youth and size and the momentum he had. But right now, the fight's not getting that much buzz with Joshua Povetkin, as well as the backlash and negative comments that he's receiving via social media and interviews and from media. They did a DAZN press conference in New York, and Joshua was getting absolutely drilled. He He was getting drilled about fighting Wilder, and that's really what it's been for the buildup. More people are asking about Wilder, so it's easy to kind of overlook and forget the guy in front of you is dangerous, Alexander Povetkin. We will see how it all plays out. Make sure you smash the like button. Let me know who wins this one, Anthony Joshua or Alexander Povetkin. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Make sure you smash the like button. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video. Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.